You can ask ChatGPT whether to be or not to be, and then let ChatGPT decide who you're gonna be.
You guys.
All the flowers in my garden never looked as bright as this. Like a happy child of words.
How are you?
Good evening.
Okay, so the first question on my panel today is, what were your first impressions when you interacted with Chat GPT as a learning tool for programming? Any person can take it as long as you feel comfortable with answering the question.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I will have to say it was very exciting because it was my first time actually having a direct contact to any like AI tool that was that responsive and that advanced. So I would say it was exciting, and I thought of all the possibilities and that you could come across with having this discovery. That's what I would say. Exciting. Yeah, that's the main thing. And scary, because I know with things like with such an accessible tool, it can be useful, but it can also be used to the point where it can also not help, or if you abuse it too much. But yeah, that was my first impression.
Okay. So the second question that I have is, did you have any preconceived notions or expectations about how it could assist in your programming journey?
I think I can take this one. Well, I thought it was going to make me lazy and maybe just look for answers there the whole time. That was my initial thinking when I first got introduced to Chat GPT. But that later changed after using it for a bit. But initially I was like, anytime I'm stuck or anytime there's a problem I can't solve, ChatGPT will definitely help me. But yeah, that later changed.
All right, thank you so much. So the other question is, in what ways did ChatGPT help you understand programming concepts or improve your coding skills? Coming to you, Mario.
Cool. For me, I think ChatGPT has its limitations, which is really important because it doesn't necessarily give you everything. What's useful is that if you ever have like a problem, it won't necessarily tell you how to like fix that exact issue, but you can learn through examples, and you can learn through seeing how ChatGPT works with this particular concept that you're dealing with, and then you know how to apply that backwards. So that's the really cool part about it.
Okay, thank you, lovely. And the other question is, were there specific areas or topics in programming where you found ChatGPT particularly helpful or informative?
Yes, because like with the curriculum that we have, the way it's written and worded can be confusing. So then sometimes we're like, hey, let me copy and paste this and then ask ChatGPT to explain it. And then I found that it has a better explanation. And then like even maybe using it for like reviews or writing out tasks or something, you could use it to like, hey, can you write this for me? And then I wouldn't heavily rely on it. You just basically have an outline for it and then let it generate and then edit the portions that you need.
Okay, thank you so much. What limitations or challenges did you encounter while using ChatGPT for learning programming?
Can I answer this one?
Okay.
I have a real life example.
Okay.
The other day, I was doing the server client program, right? So there was a lot of conversation between myself and ChatGPT that night. So I chatted, I chatted, understanding different concepts, sterilization, de-sterilization, transferring objects, converting into bytes. One thing that happened throughout the conversation, ChatGPT started giving me Python examples, even though I was asking Java questions, giving it Java code. All of a sudden, it just started giving me Python, and yeah, I was like shocked. How did we get to Python? And maybe the conversation was too long. Maybe I was just asking too many follow-up questions, so I couldn't keep up with all my follow-up questions. But yeah, it just completely changed the language that we were discussing at one point.
Okay.
I think an important part about what I've learned from ChatGPT is the context you provide your questions with matters a lot.
Okay.
So if I'm asking for help on how can I deal with connecting a client to a sub, for example, right? And you provide them with a piece of code, it's not enough context for them. They won't know what else you have going on in your program. And they'll like kind of provide a very far-fetched example from what you've been trying to implement.
Okay.
So it can be very hard to tell it exactly what you need help with and not knowing what context to give it, because that matters a lot with what it will show you. It won't just know, oh, he's trying to do this, so that's why this is here, so I'll actually show him this example. It will just give you based on what you ask directly.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Can I add on to that?
Okay.
So recently, a few months ago, I had to migrate my company's website from React.js onto Next.js, and we also changed how we use CSS. So we started using the Tailwind CSS framework. So there was a time when we had to add some responsive design, and Tailwind CSS is kind of new. So then when we ran it through ChatGPT, like, hey, can you do this? It kind of struggled. I think it could be because of the reason that ChatGPT can't access or doesn't have any knowledge about the world after, I think, 2019 or so. And I guess it also depends on how many people are using it. So if there's a few number of people, then it also doesn't know much about what's going on. Just like you said, that ChatGPT gave you Python answers. It's probably because of the reason that a lot of people ask questions related to Python instead of Java.
So another question, thank you so much, hey? Beautiful answer. Another question is, how did ChatGPT complement your experience with traditional learning resources, for example, textbooks, online tutorials, or coding exercises? How did you add on, the traditional way we used to learn to using as well, like ChatGPT?
Okay. I think for me, oftentimes when you Google something, when you Google like a particular concept that you're interested in, you'll find the thing that you're looking for in a documentation. And you often have to do a lot of reading to get through it. And sometimes the amount of reading you do is not enough for you to actually grasp the concept. So what's nice about ChatGPT is that it works as a complement to just after you've read online, you can actually go see an example like in actual code. That's what something that ChatGPT actually does. Like it actually shows you an example within your code, like in a real life example that you'd actually need it. So that's something that helps to complement the things that I already do when learning.
Okay, thank you so much. And the next question is, did ChatGPT provide additional insights or explanation that enhanced your understanding of programming concepts?
This one is not really related to programming concepts, but in terms of like maybe design documents. So then oftentimes before starting to develop a program, we write down a software design document, basically the architecture of the program. So then it's a very long process to write a design document. So then I found that ChatGPT can help you write better design documents that make it easier for your team to understand. Because maybe you might have written something and it's very cryptic and not easy to understand, and then ChatGPT will just be there to help you write it better and make it easy to understand while also being fast.
All right, thank you so much for your answer. And then going to ethical considerations. Yeah, so what ethical concerns, if any, did you have regarding the use of ChatGPT as a learning tool? Okay.
I think in an academic environment, I think I'm pretty worried that it might be used for like cheating, and you can't distinguish between a good programmer and someone who just used ChatGPT. Like, as much as ChatGPT has its limitations, it's a really powerful tool and it has a lot of capabilities. So the ethical part would be, okay, people might be using this to cheat and getting like far better than people who are really putting in the work and like trying to understand concepts and really are genuinely good at something compared to someone who just uses ChatGPT. So those are some of the things, especially in an academic environment.
Okay, all right. Anyone would like to add on? I think we can all get a perspective to this because it's quite I think all of us, we kind of like all had this mindset that everyone is going to cheat. So I feel like all of your perspectives will mean a lot. So I'll give you all chances on this one.
I think there came times where after I discovered Chat GPT, like it would be just like tempting thought of like just go ask. If I was struggling with something,
Yes.
I would always be like, oh, it's fine. Go ask this person. Go ask Chat GPT, and I would have to stop myself because sometimes I used to be able to solve problems or come up with solutions without having ChatGPT. The fact that it's the first solution now for any problem I have, or was becoming at the time, the first solution was concerning me. So I think even within myself and probably a few other beginning developers, I think it will be a struggle to like manage the temptation to not just resort to that. And knowing how to use ChatGPT correctly to aid my learning, and not to merely like make it easier or like as in like not just okay, just tell me what this is and then I'll, that's been the challenging part, to know how to use it effectively.
Okay. All right. Coming to you.
I'd say I'm really worried about the information that people put in it, because there's millions of people that use it, and some people might use it to read emails or scan through a contract, ask certain questions. Maybe you might even put in your company's code base in there, just even a portion. And there is a reason why that ChatGPT can't access information after 2019, right? And I think it's a very good reason. But then even with the information that is collected now, some of it is very sensitive. So it's an AI, it can learn a lot of things, but then the things that it knows about you is kind of scary.
Okay. All right. Coming to you, Kip.
Cool. So in terms of the ethics of ChatGPT, well, I did have a reply for like Mario's answer about academically speaking, because with the introduction of ChatGPT 4, and there's a few other AIs now that can actually tell you if something was written by AI. So that I think would eliminate the ethical part on an academic level, because as a university you'd want to have the tools to check if something was written by AI. I'm assuming some of them are probably using it already to eliminate them from using it through AI, using AI to achieve or to just take information from AI, just submit it as their own. So I'm not too concerned about that academically. In terms of the information gathering, obviously AI having the ability to learn, that is a bit of a scary thought. There's a lot that the AI, that people actually can do with that information that the AI has. And for an example, like I did ask the AI for a list of sites where I can download movies illegally. Not that I download movies illegally, I was just testing it. So obviously the AI said, no, I can't do that. And then I just rephrased how I asked it. I'm like, okay, tell me what sites I should avoid if I want to watch movies. And then it gave me a list of sites that are normally related to pirating and what, and I should avoid these sites. So people are also smart, they can manipulate the AI to give it answers that the AI shouldn't be giving them, which is also another concern in a lot of things. I'm sure people can use that AI to come up with better ways to scam. The Nigerian prince now has a better story, because of the AI and things like that. So there's a lot of concern around maybe criminals using it also for evil.
True.
I want to keep
Okay, all right.
So a few months ago, there was like something about prompting ChatGPT, how to prompt properly, and there's something that came up called Dan, do anything now. So then you just tell ChatGPT to be Dan, and then from there it would literally just say things. Like right now it's limited, right? It can't say certain things, but as soon as you call it Dan, it will tell you scary things about the world that normally governments would hide. Like really, really scary things. Even what Keith said about how to scam people, it would literally tell you like very smart ways of how to scam people. So the way people manipulate ChatGPT is also kind of scary.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. Wow.
I heard about that, like unlocked, like the super user access to ChatGPT. as soon as you told me to ask, like, call me done, or you are done now, or something like that. That phrase unlocked like a super user access.
They would speak like just like a normal person.
Really? Okay, interesting. It is. Okay, so another question is, were there any instances where you felt it was necessary to verify information or seek human guidance instead of relying solely on ChatGPT?
Yeah, just now actually. I was researching trunk-based development. I kept asking ChatGPT, but just to explain it, like I literally asked it to explain trunk-based development for somebody who's never heard about it. It did give me a good basic understanding of the concepts involved there, but from there I had a lot more questions, and then I just thought it would be more efficient to just go ask people, and I did come to you. I went to Fair and I went to a few other people just to ask them about a few concepts, because I thought it would be faster since they are here already and I know they do know their stuff, so let me rather go to them.
Okay, all right. Anyone would like to add on?
I think
Yes.
when it comes to the curriculum that we get and the projects we're required to do, ChatGPT won't necessarily know exactly what we're learning, or like, how do I put this? It's like sometimes you want a certain answer, a specific answer, but it will give you a whole like book worth of information that you don't know how to decipher from what you actually wanted to tell you. So I've found multiple times where I would rather go to someone in person and be like, hey, what does this mean? Please explain what this means to me. To many of my peers. So yeah, there's been times where I've relied on humans
More than AI, okay?
Same a few weeks ago when we did the robot roads project. So before starting the project, I asked it to generate a template for the server and client. And it did generate it perfectly, it was working, but then it was using a TCP server architecture. And I was like, okay, why TCP and why not UDP? There's benefits to both, but then it doesn't really cover it. It just finds basically the easiest way for you to do it without considering benefits. So I had to go to someone to talk about server architecture, which is better, which to use, all of that.
Okay, all right, lovely. So another question, now we're going to the autonomy and independent problem solving, right? So did using ChatGPT impact your ability to think critically and problem solve independently?
I think for me, I think it's still a bit too early to say, right?
Okay.
We haven't been using ChatGPT like for the entire academic year. It's just been a small portion. So far, we've just been using it in conjunction with everything that we're doing. So it's just an enhancer more than replacing anything. So in terms of like taking away our ability to think critically and come up with ideas on our own, I don't think it's really done that as yet. I think it's still a bit too early in its life cycle, I guess.
Yeah. So then I think based on what Sia said, like you have to give it a lot of context to give it exactly what you're looking for. So because of that, it hasn't taken away from our need to think by ourselves. Yeah, like you can't give it 8 classes and now tell it loses itself after you give it 2 lines of code maybe.
If anything, I think it's also added like an additional level of complexity to like learning how to like learn basically.
Okay.
So when you learn from ChatGPT, you need to know how to ask questions basically. You need to know which certain context to give it so that you figure out what's necessary for it to know and what you can tell, like what you can learn from what it tells you. So there's an additional bit of skill that you need to gain from using ChatGPT. So, yeah.
Okay, all right, great answer. Anyone?
I think that it's taken away that thing of like, having people try before going elsewhere. So like now it's like a thing of people depending on ChatGPT. Like maybe a new project comes up, they're like, hey, straight to ChatGPT, but they don't really try it on their own first, fail, and then go to ChatGPT like, okay, why didn't this work? Why is this working? So yeah, it's made people a bit lazy, and yeah, they're not trying first before going to ChatGPT.
Okay.
Scary. I was like,
I've seen that.
this code is so good. How did you come up with? Oh, ChatGPT. Yeah. Like, okay, can you explain this to me? And they're like, it's like there's no point in doing that if you're not gonna actually learn what you're coding.
Even with last week when we were doing this, the Lisp interpreter, I literally saw almost everyone on ChatGPT. Like all over the screens, ChatGPT. I think everyone just went straight there instead of like reading the documentation, understanding. The best way that I learned is through crash courses. So then I just went on YouTube and looked for a crash course on Lisp, and I found this one by Fireship, I think. So 100 seconds of Lisp, and I just understood everything from there on. I'm like, okay, I'm good now. Yeah. So people are not really like maybe going through YouTube videos nowadays and just go straight to ChatGPT.
Okay, all right, great answer. And the other question is, how did you strike a balance between using ChatGPT as a resource and developing your own problem-solving skills? As you were mentioning that some of us will be lazy and we just go like dive in. How are you guys monitoring that?
The first thing now, what I have noticed ChatGPT does help me with, and I normally go to ChatGPT for this, is just for dumbing down certain terminologies that I don't understand. Because it's much faster than Googling. It skips me having to click through many links. Something like serialization. I asked ChatGPT, what is serialization? It told me exactly what it is. It's the process of converting bytes. So then So instead of going through Google, clicking this link, reading through a bunch of context. So I use it mainly just to simplify terminology, specifically terminology that I might not understand. Terminology or concepts, because I used it also today for just to get a basic understanding of what chunk-based development is. So that's where I'm at now with using ChatGPT. I don't really look for answers anymore. I look mainly for understanding of things that might help me solve the problem.
Okay, lovely. Anyone would like to add on?
I'm still figuring out that balance of like understanding when to resort to it, but I think I've already begun to learn from Keith here. So I'll see how that goes for me, and yeah, I'm still learning basically.
Okay, lovely. Okay, so now we're going to opportunities for improvement. What features or enhancements would you like to see in ChatGPT to make it more effective for learning programming? Now it's time for us to think like engineers.
I would say when it comes to programming problems that were given at schools, I think if ChatGPT was to like ensure there was a way to make sure that they aren't just doing students' homework and stuff, like a little like check, like okay, I'm afraid this essay, but what's it for? Is it for school? That can help you. If there's a way, if they had like a very reliable way to like make a check why you're asking you this, or maybe it can recognize an essay question. I don't know, like I can't. But if there's a way for them for it to not just okay, I'll do your homework. Why not? I'll write an essay about this and that, or I'll do this code for you and not wonder why. So if there's a way to like check that why it's doing what it's doing before it does it, that would be helpful, and it would stop people from just relying on it to do all the work and all their essay. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I think something nice to have is something like a connector. So you have different chats, right? Maybe some on programming, some on business, some on math and whatever. So maybe gathering all of those different topics and having them like under one thing. And maybe it's programming, you have a programming section, and then all of those chats that you have previously, like maybe the main answers, like what is OOP, what is serialization, all of those with like information like date and time, and then maybe even a link to go back to that chat, because lately my chats have been stacking up and it's kind of confusing. So having like a little portion on the site to have all of those bookmarks would be nice to have.
Okay, all right, lovely.
Okay,
Maria?
so I think my idea was sort of like being able to give ChatGPT more code at a time. So it's like if you could somehow give it more files like to read, because normally what we do is we give it a snippet of code. And it's like, okay, this is what I'm currently working on. Please help me figure out what to do next from here. But if we could give it a little bit more context, like, okay, I have these files in my folder, and I want you to handle this particular file, then that would be kind of nice, because then we have more context to give and we don't have to explain the architecture of program or
Okay.
project.
That's coming to you, Kip, if you have something.
Yeah, I think ChatGPT 4 already handles files. You can upload pictures, files, you can interpret a lot now. ChatGPT
Really?
4, yeah, but it's just you pay for that instead of free.
Have you accessed it?
No, not yet.
Okay,
it's,
not yet.
It's paid for. I'm not going to pay for it.
Okay,
But yeah,
alright.
and apparently also some users have opted in for the beta version of ChatGPT 4, which allows ChatGPT 4 to access the internet also as a plugin, yeah, which is quite scary. But anyway, my idea for ChatGPT is very simple. Just make it voice activated, Siri, just ChatGPT.
Yeah,
So you can ask it questions with the voice, it will reply with a voice, and
as
I
well.
think I saw a video like that recently. So this guy with a Mac, he made a voice AI that runs on his Mac, and then he started to generate a project, and then ChatGPT will just generate a project, and then that whole project will be on his system, ready to go. So that was kind of cool.
Really?
that's
Okay.
integrated.
That's interesting. Okay, so while we now overall this whole discussion of ours, the question that I have now is, looking back, how do you think ChatGPT contributed to your overall learning journey in programming? I know we're not yet done, but then compared to our first semester and where we are second year, and we have ChatGPT, do you feel like it kind of contributed to something in your lives?
Yeah, it has, but not a lot.
Okay.
Very little. I feel like the people around me have contributed 10, 20, 30 times more than ChatGPT has. But it has made a few small contributions here and there. When I'm stuck, maybe I'm at home. But nothing like the people around me have made towards my life. Yeah.
Lovely.
I think similar answer, but on top of that, ChatGPT actually has helped with sort of eliminating the need to go to someone. If you're alone, and you have no one to talk to, then ChatGPT can quickly help you out. I think it's always better to have somebody look at your code and try and figure out. But if you don't have anyone there at the time, it's always helping you with that, and it's pretty fast at that. So, which is a nice thing. So.
Okay, lovely. Coming to you, Sian.
For me, I'd say it's helped me determine what areas I'm lacking in, meaning if I can recognize which areas I feel like I tend to rely on ChatGPT. Now that I know, I tend to go to this thing a lot when I'm in this section of work, it makes me stop and realize, okay, what do I on my own have to go work on understanding? Because I think it's better to use ChatGPT to aid what you already know, not to always go to it for answers in a way. I feel like if there's been students before me and before us that I was able to get along without relying on this thing. So I feel like if I rely on it too much, it feels like I'm almost not allowing myself to actually properly improve my skills, such as researching or problem solving, basically. So troubleshooting, all that stuff. So I think for me, I've just learned what I need to fix on my own before going to ChatGPT. Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
For me, it has eliminated the amount of time I spend on writing documentation and good README files, which are very important. So instead of spending a lot of time on that, I can rather focus on development and other things. So it's basically helped me deal with the smaller tasks and focus on the bigger things.
Okay, lovely. So my last question is, would you recommend ChatGPT as a learning tool to other students interested in programming? If not, why? If yes, why not?
Yeah. I would say it's 50-50.
It's
Because
50-50.
I remember I was on a presentation from Deloitte, and I was asking them, what is an effective way for a learner to actually use ChatGPT to help them learn and not to be lazy? And I would say it can help a student if they already have the foundation of what they're going to it for, and they're just using it as a calculator to see if their ideas will be working. but I think it will be ineffective if they go to ChatGPT just directly from the beginning. Like, oh my gosh, okay, this code has been given to me. What is this? Give me an example to fix it. So I think it can go either way, but I wouldn't recommend it yet. I think there's no regulations in place. Well, they are, like, I know at university they have like checks for assignments or to see if it was AI generated. But for programmers, first learn your basics on your own. Make sure your foundation is strong, and then go to ChatGPT as a calculator of sorts for your programming and your ideas and your that's basically what it is.
Okay.
For me, it's a 50-50.
Okay.
Like CSA, have your foundation first, right? I'd say try, then fail, and keep on going like that. And then once you have a strong foundation, then you can use ChatGPT with some things, like maybe explaining things better, summarizing things, and then giving you like a way forward. But having that foundation first is very important.
Okay. Coming to you.
I think with me, if you're maybe a self-taught, if you're self-taught and you want to become a developer, I think ChatGPT will help you a lot. You cut a lot of time reading things, watching videos. That would help a lot, and I think ChatGPT would help in that context. But in an academic environment where your work gets graded and you may be tempted to cheat or like think about just having ChatGPT do your project for you, then there's a 50-50, right? Because we're our students and we have found that ChatGPT does help us, but there's also the additional part of like being tempted to just use it to cut a lot of time and be lazy and have it generate the work for you. So I agree with them, 50-50 in an environment where it's academic and we worry about ethical issues, right? But if you're self-taught or maybe you're working, then I think that would help you. It helps to save a lot of time, and we always opt for like efficient learning. So
Okay, lovely. Coming to you, Kip.
I'm agreeing with them, 50-50. My 50-50 is like we're doing a 2-year course. The first year you're not allowed to use ChatGPT. The second year you're allowed to. If it's a 4-year course, first 2 years you can't, second 2 years you can. Strictly for the purpose of at least building the basic understanding yourself, going through the tough struggles, because I think that's where you learn the most, is when you're in the deepest of waters, that's when you learn to swim. I'd ban it completely for the first half of your education and then allow you to use it for the second half of your education.
Okay. All right, guys.
To add on to what Maurice said about self-taught developers, I think if you're a self-taught developer or learning alone, what you could do is ask it to generate a curriculum specifically tailored to you, depending on what you want to learn, whether that's web development or app development. Because on the internet, most of the courses out there are like structured the same. But then maybe you could give it a little information about yourself, like, hey, I'm doing this, I have experience in this and this and this and this, and then it will just give you a tailored curriculum just for you, and you could do those chapters or whatever week by week, and then you have something like that.
Okay, that's a very great idea. I would have never thought of it. Yeah, I like that one. Okay, any closing words or anything that you would like to say? I don't know, but if not, that's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for doing this. I'm so grateful. Yes. Okay.
Out of only sea, butterflies down my stomach when I think of you and me. It is funny how a lot can change when you learn how to breathe. Look at my eyes, what do you see? Feels like we're only